Gentlemen, welcome to the latest in the series of promotion music news interviews. My name is Brad LeBeau, and it's a pleasure to have the three of you on today's call. Before we start the interview, for those unaware of today's guests, let me introduce Kyle Gerard and Dylan Lee, better known as the Midnight Kids, who just released their debut EP, The Lost Youth, which follows your individual singles, Find Our Way in 2018, Serious, Run It, those were the days in 2019. And I think you guys released Last Time in Monsters earlier this year, if memory serves. Yeah. You signed to RCA Records. On a personal note, I'm very taken by the quality of your production and the severity of your lyrics for young guys.
Thank you.
You know, you definitely have some stuff going on upstairs, as we say. And also your guest vocalists are really, really strong and diverse. We like that. And today's promotion music news interview will be hosted by San Francisco's own Mike Morales, also known as DJ Q, as in Q&A. Just coincidence?
That's your brainchild, so yeah, you get all the credit for that.
Thank you. Thanks for nothing. For those unaware of Q's credits, he really is an outstanding remixer. He's worked on repertoire by Katy Perry and Jennifer Lopez, Britney Spears, Madonna. He also programs a weekly mix show radio program for WILD in San Francisco. He's involved with Dance Society for Sirius XM, Remix Top 30 Countdown. And he's won a variety of awards for such a young and good-looking man. Remixer of the Year, Producer of the Year, Mix Show Radio DJ of the Year. And he's also a Billboard Recording Club DJ. And I have to tell you, he's really a nice guy.
I believe it.
He's really, really a nice guy. Otherwise, he certainly wouldn't be on this call.
That's
so
true.
With that, I'm going to leave
sense.
the interview up to Mike. I'll just sit back and listen. Can't thank you enough for being there. And off you go.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, well, no, thank you guys for taking some time to hang out. I took a listen to the EP. It's really dope. Like it's interesting because I wouldn't even call it an EP because it felt more like a short form album. And it's one of those things where the other thing that I was kind of taken aback is like, you know, most artists, they're releasing singles. Like it's pretty much like a singles game. So like what inspired you all first, you know, in the idea for the EP and just actually putting together like a cohesive body of work? Because it seems like there's like, it's like very like thematic, like when you listen to it from beginning to end.
Yeah, we weren't sure what we were gonna do going into it. We knew that we wanted to do some form of a body of work. We had no idea. We didn't have like a concept in mind or anything. I feel like we kind of worked backwards in the way that came about actually, because we had the name before we had the concept. We were just like throwing hypotheticals around. We were like, okay, if we were gonna put together an EP or an album, what would we call it? And after a little bit of back and forth, we came up with The Lost Youth. And then from there, it sort of like created these images in our mind, and the meaning was derived after we created the name. And so once we had the name, we sort of started developing a little bit of a concept in mind and started both writing new music, and looking back for some older music that we had finished but had never put out. And we were like, okay, what's going to fit the best on this record? So I think we just wanted to get out a chunk of music that people can really experience, like from start to finish, because that's something we'd never really done before. And so it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, we've definitely noticed other artists just putting out singles and then they just collect them together, and you know, they can do that, but we also thought that it might not be as authentic as we wanted it to feel, you know, so we really wanted to create music for the project in mind. And as there are some songs that were done before we, you know, came up with the name, we just thought they felt so right on the EP with a new body of work, and we felt they just felt so perfect together.
That's dope because like typically like a jumping off point is usually the music itself, right? It's never the concept. So the fact that you guys came in with like a concept first, and yeah, you did have songs ahead of time that, all right, well, which it may have been inspired, right? Where it's like you had those songs were made in a moment, but now leading up to this, it's like, oh wait, like we came up with an overall concept, and now what we worked on in the past, we can actually build up on that. And that seems to be apparent. Like there was a post that you made on your Twitter where you basically break down each song and pretty much where it started.
Hmm.
And I think it was really cool because the other aspect was that is that you really highlighted like your collaborators, and not even just like the songwriters, but the mixing engineers, the mastering engineers. Like a lot of artists don't do that, and I think that contributed to helping elevate, you know, this idea that you had and really working with the team around you.
Yeah, 100%. The team is so important, you know?
Yeah.
It's like you can't do it by yourself. So it's everybody's input and everybody's um I guess like what what everyone puts into it. It's like that's what the final product is. So it's so important for us to like share like who was actually a part of it, not just me and Kyle, you know?
Yeah. And so with like that one that overall approach with the album, was there like one song specifically that you were like, wow, it's actually in this moment that we noticed it was like a game changer where, you know, this person contributed this, or it was mixed a certain way. Like was there one song where you knew it was right there, but it wasn't until that other person made their contribution that I was like, oh wow, like this is what we were trying to get to, and we just needed that 10 or like 5% to like get there.
Hmm.
I think honestly higher. Like we all we loved it. We loved it so much, you know, had so much emotion in it, and it was just like I don't know, we just felt something that was unique about it. It was the guitar, it was the vocal, but like the big electronic drop, and it was maybe seemed like it was hard to fit the two together, but as soon as Miles, you know, came back with a mix, I think Kyle said it was like first revision back, we were like, whoa, you know,
Yeah.
it really did lift the energy of the track, and it was pretty amazing what he did to that one.
Yeah, that mix was really, really good. And speaking of the guitar on that track, this one of my friends, Matt Van, recorded the guitar for that song. We were actually Dylan and I were playing a festival in Ohio, and I had flown out there early to actually stay with Matt Van and just like hang out with him. And we ended up recording acoustic guitar that you hear on the final record, and that's what ended up kind of closing out the EP. And so without that guitar, I feel like the EP would have had a lot different feel. It felt so perfect closing it out with this somber, soft acoustic guitar.
That's dope. Like, so like as a producer myself, like I always am fascinated by, it's like those little things, right, that you don't anticipate that really just that's what elevates the song to that next level where it's like, and a lot of it could be accidental too, where you're just collaborating with someone and in that moment it's like, wait, like that's it. And then
Mhm.
in that moment it's like, okay, let's record, like let's put that in. Or maybe, you know, you're trying to find like the perfect like kick or snare, and then you finally like you say you finish the arrangement and you go back and it's like, all right, well let me actually replace a kick, and it completely changes the vibe of like your entire track.
Yeah.
It's always been, yeah, it the fact how powerful like something simple like that has always like fascinated me. And going to your guys' album, like each song like sounds like really, really, really big. Like, I mean, it's dope. And I was wondering from a production standpoint, was there from a, I guess creatively, was there a synth, a soft synth, or even a plugin that kind of what I would say like summarized and like helped like fuel the album. Like for example, whenever I get stuck in a creative rut, I tend to like hoard plugins. So like I'll go and buy like something new and it'll like fuel me creatively for whatever reason. Do you guys feel like there was something that was that helped to like jump off at like certain points in the album that you found to be kind of consistent? Like, oh yeah, like I think this is kind of shaping what the sound of this is going to be.
I, I think that's all contextual, like for each record or for each song on the record. There's always like a starting point that sort of jump starts the production for the rest of the whole time. And so, for example, Run It, what that was the vocal in the chorus, the main hook part, because Annika Wells has this like cool bounciness in that chorus, And so when we first heard that demo, we were like, wow, this is really cool. And we feel that we should preserve that sort of rhythmic feel that the vocal has. And so all of the production was centered around making sure that that groove and that rhythm stayed as preserved as possible. And then you take another song like Everything You Are, which is the second song on the record. That was originally started from a vocal sample that's saying Everything You Are. And the original sample is awful. It is the worst sample I have ever heard. I don't know how anyone could possibly use that in a song. But we threw it into a vocoder, so it's only playing one note throughout the whole thing. And we threw some distortion on it, and it became this really cool effect that plays throughout the entire song. I don't know if there's any part of the song where that vocoder is not playing. So it's kind of, it varies for each song. I don't know if we could specify like a specific plugin that we always go to start something.
Well, I did notice like in one of your posts, like a lot of it like leaned towards like within Ableton, like just the specific Ableton plugins. You did like a track breakdown. I can't remember the track that that you broke down on Instagram, but I thought that was dope because that also the nerdy producer in me. You know, a lot of people discredit like what you can do within Ableton, and a lot of people like will go towards a lot of like third party stuff, but you can do a lot of powerful things like just within Ableton, where I have a lot of kids ask me like, how can I get started? It's like, well, you know, find a DAW that you're comfortable with and just learn that. I mean, you don't, it's one thing, you want to emulate what your production heroes are doing, like they're using Serum and Massive and all these, you know, other plugins, but learn with what you got, because you can make incredible things like, you know, you guys did. So when you approach a song, is there a certain focus, whether it's like a vocal, a bass line, maybe like creating the drums first, or is it just all kind of what the moment, how the moment happens?
Again, I think it's just all contextual. Whenever Dylan and I go into like a studio session, recently what we've been doing is before we would go in with like a demo. We would make a demo, either it's either something we have lying around, or we'll just put together something the day before and just be like, hey, we have this idea, like we can write over this and just see what comes of it. But recently we've just been like going in and jamming with whoever we're in a session with, and we've come up with some really cool stuff just doing that. Again, it's all contextual.
I feel like one of the biggest things in all these tracks is like the ambience behind everything. You know, it's like, you know, it's the drones. It's like it's like adding these things that don't necessarily seem like they're there, that add so much. It makes them all feel contextual. It makes them all feel like they're one body of work, because, you know, there's like, you know, we use these like certain things where it's either like a night sample, or it's either like you know, it's crickets in the back. It's like these little things that just like kind of lift the body of work that you can't really tell that are there. It's like, it's just these little things that I feel like inspire also. You know, you just create this ambience and work from there. And like, what does it feel like, you know?
Yeah, that's cool to hear you guys talking about the jam session, because that was the I never thought about like electronic artists and then the idea of, you know, jamming out, because we're all within the DAW, right?
Yeah.
I remember listening to a talk by Rufus Del Sol, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you know, for our latest album, we limited ourselves to actual like analog gear, and basically all we do is we just turn everything on, and then we just start playing, and we're just recording like 6-7 hours, and then they pull from that, and that's where all these ideas like came from." And I think that's really powerful, because once again, it goes back to like that happy accident, right? It's like, oh whoa, like this. I didn't mean to like make, you know, this arpeggio, but it sounds really dope, and we captured that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Guys, if you have a chance also, I just want to move the interview over from technical to a bit more social.
I'm
no worries, because you guys have really amassed a significant number of followers on your socials for a relatively new duo. And I'm under the impression that obviously that those that are listening to you are very taken by the, as I mentioned before, the severity and topic of the lyric and the titles. you want to talk a little bit about that, we'd appreciate that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, just from like a branding standpoint.
Well, in this day and age, how are we attracting fans? How are we attracting listeners? Back in the day, it was radio play, then it went to video play. And at the end of the day, now, for certain demographics, 18 to 24, 25, 34, tweens and teens, it's all about the technology and what people are watching and listening to on their cell phones. And it's not only about the music, but it's about the way artists interact with their fans. Years ago, we couldn't do that.
Yeah. I was about to say, it's so important to us that me and Ka have just like decided, and when this is what we're going to do, we just want to be on the same level as our fans. We don't want to be this hierarchy. Like, a lot of DJs and a lot of artists these days are like, they seem like they're almost unreachable. They seem like they're the pop star. They seem like they're, just this kind of like, I guess, godlike thing that it's just like, oh, wow, like that's amazing. But we have like decided that, we want to become friends with our fans. We want to hang out with them. Like on the weekends, we're playing video games with our fans. Like, they're not even fans at this point. They're almost friends. So, we did things like we created this community on Discord called The Lost Youth, and it's just a safe place for people to talk and chat, create new friends. And it's just something that me and Kyle really want to do, just be on the same level. And I feel like that's something really important, and that's made people kind of connect with us on like I guess a deeper level than most artists can do.
Yeah,
because
the Lost Youth was kind of a way to represent. Well, when we first came up with the concept, it was like we all have our own problems that we're going through, and everyone can relate to that. Everyone has their own problems that they're going through, and because we all have those problems, that's something that gives us common ground. And so the Lost Youth was kind of about creating this escape from those problems for a little bit, that anyone of any background could relate to. And so that was like really important to us, is like creating this sense of community. And that's with every aspect of Midnight Kids. Like Dylan was saying, we're not trying to be this godlike icon. We want people to relate to us as people as much as they're relating to the music. So all aspects of it kind of just feel authentic.
Yeah, and I think that's important because I know that even just like a simple response with a thank you or anything goes a long way, like for fans, and they definitely like stick with you. And so, are you has there been any other like thoughts in regards to how else to connect with your fans? I'm seeing a big increase in live streaming with not only like live artists but DJs as well. So I know you talk about some of your songs, framing them for a live show. But with things how they are now, have there been any thoughts about trying to do anything like that in a live stream sense, or just any ideas for the matter?
Well, we have done a few live stream like sets, like live shows.
Okay.
And so we're definitely trying to make sure we do stuff like that, because I think that's really important. We can't be playing shows, so we might as well do some virtual ones. We've done a little bit of live streaming as well. Like we'll be playing games or giving feedback to some of our fans that make music and want us to give our input on their music. So that's definitely something we've explored, and that's part of like the whole Discord community, like staying in contact with our fans. It's all kind of the same thing for us.
Cool. Well, I don't have any other questions. I'm not sure, Brad, do you have any that I may have missed?
I have a lot of questions, but not about this. Real quick. So The Lost Youth recently released, right? What's the next plan to support it? Obviously, during COVID, we're hunkering down, but things seem to be loosening up a little bit. Of course, most concerts, if not all concerts and festivals, have been, completely shut down. People are talking about maybe fall. People talking about maybe 2021. Have you guys had any shows that have been canceled or
Oh yeah.
postponed? Is that
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
sure you're loving that, right?
Yeah, we
it's
definitely,
wonderful. It's great.
Yeah.
we definitely had a couple dream opportunities.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that there's no yellow homicide tape in your apartment and make sure
No,
there's no
yeah.
white chalk of body lines on the floor.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
Oh,
basically
man.
like a horse who wants to run the track, and right now
Yeah.
you can't. So what we've also found in terms of club culture world, and KUE is so perfect at this, is that a lot of the DJs that would normally play in clubs are now broadcasting their sets online.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And instead of playing in a confined room
Yeah.
for a confined number of people, these sets now are going out to the world,
Right.
which as a marketing guy is wonderful for us. And I imagine as talent like you guys,
Yeah.
instead of a festival or instead of a club, this is a
Yeah.
moment that I think is proof positive that necessity is
Yeah.
the mother of invention.
Yeah, I feel like it is also hard, it's kind of a double-edged sword in a way, because like obviously it's not the same feeling, it's not necessarily the same experience, and it's hard for me at least to give people this show that we work so hard for, that just, it's our energy, it's being in the room with them, it's these visuals that we've been thinking about working on. It's like it it obviously doesn't do the justice that we would love it to do. But we are in this time where I guess, you have to, but there's something to say about, the live aspect and being with people. And it's hard to give our fans this show that isn't what exactly we want to give them. So I would love to figure out something to do that could actually do that, but I don't know. I really don't know what that could possibly be.
Because typically energy, it's both ways, like you're feeding off one another, and
100%.
and granted, as a DJ, really a lot of the live streaming for me is just to keep a sense of normalcy in being able to connect with people, but there's a huge difference connecting within like a chat box versus
Yeah.
the physical preference and getting that club energy like fed back into you, which
Yeah.
it's the same with the live show, I'm sure. So yeah, it just makes, yeah, you're right, it's difficult.
Yeah.
There's nothing like being on stage.
Yeah.
And so you cannot replicate that feeling anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, because I just feel like our show that we've created, it's so much of it's our energy. You could ask anyone who comes to one of our shows, it's the bounce, it's like the back and forth that we have with fans, and like the craziness that we kind of, me and Kyle go absolutely crazy on stage. Like it's hard to replicate that and have people who haven't seen our shows see this show for the first time. And, it's almost like everyone's in the same, there's not one person that I guess can do more than others. Some people can have the like opportunity to create this, like, I guess, like animated visual thing with their show. But
Yeah.
definitely the majority of people are just like in their bedroom, two CDJs, and like you can flick some light switches on and off, so
Yeah.
it's definitely been a challenge, and we've been talking about how to, give the people what we want to give them, so it's definitely a double-edged sword, and we want to figure out how to do it best,
I
and
think
see
it's
where our
good.
line is on.
I think it's good that you, at least with the previous live streams you guys talked about, it's much more the idea of an intimate moment, right? So the fact that you're, let's say sitting on the couch, like playing games, talking with a community that way, or I've seen artists maybe do like an acoustic session where. The energy is much different, but at least there's that connection that makes more sense than, yeah, when you're trying to translate what they're doing with like virtual festivals, like the energy is much different. So, granted, the pro is, oh, I can now quote channel surf and see my favorite DJ then running from stage to stage, but am I really getting the same energy than
Yeah.
than being there physically?
Yeah, I feel
Right.
like it's important for fans to notice that too, like seeing new artists, like there is more to that. Like you don't want to guess like have this taste of this artist and be like, oh, like that was cool, but like, it's just you just got to realize that it is different in real life, and like you have like
Yeah.
just seeing a show in real life is so important to like really understanding an artist.
I mean, there are shows I've seen online that make me want to see an artist even more in real life. Like I can't wait to see their show in real life because it's it's a night and day experience difference.
Yeah, I'm just saying like I like hope and I think that people can notice that like it must be even better live, you know.
And I think a lot of it, going to the pros is maybe more folks are checking out artists that they wouldn't like normally have checked out. Or I know like myself, like I'll go on Twitch and I'll just see like feeds that are happening, and then I'll just it's like random luck of the draw, and then you find, oh, like I knew of this artist, I've never seen him play, but like I really dig their track selection. So whenever we can actually go to a physical space, I definitely want to see them in a club or festival or whatever, because I know they would kill it there and I would get all that energy. But yeah, it's the pros and cons, right?
Exactly.
Guys, we live in interesting times. Anything else anybody want to add? Kyle?
Stream The Lost Youth on your favorite streaming platform.
Amen.
Amen. I mean, that's it really. Like, I mean, we're happy you guys, took the time to do this.
Yeah.
And The Lost Youth is out and we're excited and can't wait for the future and see what happens.
Yeah. Thank you guys for the time. It really is a dope. I mean, I would call it an album. I mean, it has a concept from beginning to end, which says a lot because, like I said, a lot of folks, they just will string a bunch of singles together and then release it as an album. But, I'm not that old, but like I listened to like a lot of classic rock when I was in high school, and I miss that story aspect of like albums or an actual like idea behind them. And I remember at one point, in the 90s and even early 2000s, like electronic artists were still doing that, but then it just stopped. It just became more of a singles game, which was it's more of a reflection of like the industry as a whole. So I'm glad you guys like are doing it this way.
Thank you.
There's nothing wrong with singles, but I can appreciate a good album, so
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys, awesome. Thank you very much for being part of it. I wish you the best of luck. Stay safe, stay inside. Do not lick the postman. It's not good for COVID-19.
Exactly. Can't be doing that.
All right?
Can't be doing that.
My mother used to say, Brad, keep your hands to yourself.
Exactly. All right. Thank you so much,
Good day,
guys.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Over now. Bye-bye.
Yep.